Anyhow, hey there. Hello, how do you do? My name is Harry Wetzel. Thanks for coming. It's the 80s, darling, is usually the name of this series. However, today's episode is entitled Neil Sedaka Lives. Yes, Neil Sedaka, American pop icon, international celebrity, shuffled off this mortal coil the other day. And he's got a legacy of amazing music behind him and was world famous. He wrote amazing songs. He wrote Break It Up Is Hard to Do. He wrote Calendar Girls. He wrote Oh Carol. He wrote Love Will Keep Us Together later on. And he wrote the peculiar Happy Birthday Sweet 16. Anyhow, Neil Sedaka, famously one of the nicest and brightest and most positive energies in show business, and I'd like to pay a little tribute to him because I actually met Neil Sedaka when I was working in New York City. Now, as you may know, I worked at Sherry Lehman Wines and Spirits, the booze store to the great and the near great in New York City in the 1980s, 82, 83, 84. Anyhow, and it was a very exclusive wine store that sold all sorts of very fancy, exclusive wines. And they had a rich clientele because they had very expensive stuff. Rich people and celebrities would come in as well. That was the thing about living in New York City. Your day would be peppered, or your week, or your month, in either case, would be peppered with famous people's sightings. And sometimes you interacted with them. It's like a roulette wheel. Celebrity encounters is like a roulette wheel. And the roulette wheel is, you never know when your number is going to come up, and the roulette wheel is set in motion when some celebrity enters the booze store. And one bright day in April 1983, Neil Sedaka himself came into the booze store where I was working, to Sherry Lehman Wines and Spirits, and he set the roulette wheel in motion by entering the store. And my number came up, and he came right up to me at the counter to be his wine steward for the day. Yes. And he was, hi! He was super nice and very courteous, and he wanted to order a case of mixed wine to be delivered. So I recognized him right away, of course. And I was trying to think, what am I going to say to him? What am I going to say to him? I got to think of something nice. I don't want to be too pushy or, invasive. So anyhow, we make the order. I'm in the booze business now long enough that I can actually make a reasonable recommendation or two. Yes, I was always recommending Chateau Talbot, 1975, a vintage wine that was reasonably priced because it was not one of the great big vintages. It was still really good and only like $10 a bottle for a vintage booze. I was always recommending it. And I like Chateau Talbot also because it's spelled Talbot. And Talbot is the name of Larry Talbot, the Wolfman, when Lon Chaney played him in the 1941 movie. I know. Come on, that's pretty cool. So anyhow, I recommended some Chateau Talbot to Mr. Sedaka, and he got 6 bottles of red, 6 bottles of white. And we finished up the order, and he was super nice the whole time. I felt emboldened by that. And at the end of the order, I said, Mr. Sedaka, if I may. And he said, yes? I said, it's my sweet sister Susie's birthday next week. And she's a big fan of yours. And I was wondering if you would do me the incredible favor of writing out a little birthday note to my sister on one of these note cards. Sherry Lehman Wines and Spirit had these little note cards that were, nice little cards with an insignia from the booze store on it, so you could send a thank you or a note if you were sending some liquor. Right. So I gave him one of these cards, and he's like, "Sure, what's her name?" And I'm like, "Oh no!" I say, "Sue, Susan, or Susie." What do I say? What do I say? I say, "Susan." So he wrote, and you can see here. Yes. So and that was our encounter. I was, he was like, he said, "Now you have a fantastic day," and I'm like, "You have a fantastic day," and off he went. Now I sent that note card to my sweet sister Susie, and she put it up on her wall, framed on her wall. Yes, for years and years and years. I know. That's pretty cool. So Neil Sedaka lives. Every time you look at that card, every time you listen to one of his songs, I put a link below for a couple of his songs. I'm pretty sure I did. I'm going to try. All right. So that's my little story about Neil Sedaka. Here's the deal. Hi, how do you do? My name is Harry Wetzel. If you're new to this station, please come back. I'm telling my story of what it was like living in 1980s in Manhattan. And it is a true story of life and love and death. No fooling. I know. It is. There was a lot of sex and drugs and rock and roll and all sorts of other excitements and adventures and scrapes I got into. And I hope you come back and listen to my story. Subscribe. Share it to your friends. We've got to create an empire together. All right. Those of you who have been with me, thank you for coming back. I appreciate you joining me on this journey. And I look forward to anyone else who joins us. Please do. I look forward to seeing you in the future.